We've been like sort of programmed to believe that we need to make a statement, which in reality, we don't want to make a statement. We just want to live normal lives like everyone else, but we have so much work to do.
And they're like, you're so self-important that you need to make an announcement is how they view it. I'm like,
So you want to introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about who you are?
yeah, so my name is John T.D. Murphy. I'm an artist, curator, and educator based here in Los Angeles, but I'm from small town Carrollton, Georgia.
Carrollton, Georgia.
Is that near Jacksonville?
No,
No.
but
Closer
Not
to
at all.
Atlanta.
it's like halfway between Atlanta and Birmingham,
I
so it's
see.
on I-20.
Yeah.
But I have lots of family in Alabama and Florida, so
Sure.
I've been
Yeah.
to Jacksonville plenty of time.
Yeah, and we
Go
met in
Jaguars.
Atlanta. Yeah,
Yes.
go Jags. We met in Atlanta when I was living
Yes.
there for medical school. And you were already cultivating your art at that time,
Yeah.
over a decade ago. So did you always know growing up in a small town in Georgia that you wanted to be an artist?
I didn't, but I knew I really liked being creative.
Sure.
My dad was a professor at a small college in Rome, Georgia, at Berry College,
Yeah.
religious university.
Wow.
But when he my first babysitters were like just students, like art students that were
Sure.
taking his classes. So like I was doing kind of like art assignments as like a
Nice.
kid. And it's just
Amazing.
where I saw myself excelling.
Amazing.
But I had a lot of other interests as well. When I was in university, I studied political science and art. And so because I love the West Wing, so
Why not?
and I kind of contemplated going into either, and was very blessed to have some early success in my art, and allowed me to have that kind of avenue and path.
Amazing. And you know, with politics or art, you can start at any time.
Yeah.
That's true.
So growing up in Georgia, I'm sure we can have many things to relate on there. You know, South Florida may be different. He lived in South Florida, but in North Florida, it's pretty much Georgia. So we have a lot
Very
of
similar.
similarities there. What was it like growing up in a conservative household, I assume?
I'm super, super close with my family, and I'm
That's great.
obsessed with my parents.
Yay!
Like, I love them. And I have kind of like this hallmark story of my family where my when I was a small child, me and my siblings were small. My grandparents, when they retired, they just like announced like, oh, by the way, we're moving so that we can be closer to the grandkids. And they literally bought a house in the same neighborhood, just like down the street from my parents. So
Wow.
like school bus would pick us up from our house and drop us off at our grandparents' house every day. We had dinner at my grandparents
That's
every
amazing.
single like dinner at night.
Wow.
The perfect family.
So it is very Hallmark family, but it was a small southern town, so it was still like go to church on
Sure.
Sundays and Wednesdays, and all the
Wow.
church lock-ins and all of that.
Because it's also social and something to do and to interact
Exactly.
with people in the community. So I feel like too, you know, at least in my perspective, I knew I was gay at like 5, but I would go to church more for the socialization. I mean, I had to. I was, you know, a kid. You're going to do what your parents tell you to do. But I really enjoyed being with my friends, and they were in church. And it wasn't like, at least in my experience, I went there like where some of my friends would go to church and you sit in the pew and you don't move, you don't speak, you know, it's just, you take a nap, nothing happens. I went to a church where they were very vocal. There was a lot of singing. There was a lot of art. There was a big like youth program. Did they have that for your church, or was it more like the traditional?
So I did a lot of church hopping. For me, I was like christened in the Catholic Church, baptized in a non-denominational like Christian rock church, and then I was confirmed in the Episcopal Church, the Anglican Church.
So you got a little bit
So
of
I did
everything.
a little bit of
opposites.
everything.
You're
Yeah.
definitely going to heaven.
Got my bases covered.
But you know, church is, I think, a part of life.
Yeah.
And he grew up in a
Catholic family.
but living in like a conservative country vibe of Brazil. Like, I mean, that we call it like the South.
Which
of
is interesting
Brazil.
because I come from a place in Brazil where it's very similar to Georgia and Florida.
Farmland.
So farmland, cows,
Country,
a lot of cheese,
yeah, a lot of cowboy boots.
religion. Yeah, so very similar to Georgia. So I
Yeah.
can totally relate to your story because, again, very religious, small town.
Yeah.
And I always tell him that if I was born in US, I would probably be born in Georgia, in the middle of Georgia.
The South. It sounds like your family is very loving.
Yeah.
From everything you've said thus far. So you had a pretty good then childhood, it sounds like, at least with love and support.
And like to put salt in the wound, I also had like the most amazing like spiritual home and religious like coming out experience as well, which is so uncommon for people growing up in the church. My parents were basically like the first people I told in person, because I knew they had to know first.
How old were you?
I was 15, and it was the summer before starting freshman year of high school. And I was like, I want to go into high school be yourself. I told them, and then I like walked down to this like field near my house and like had a little cry, and I called my three of my closest friends, and basically was saying like, hey, I just want to let you know, in case anyone asks you, you don't have to like lie. I don't want to have like a parade, but like I'm just gonna stop lying
pretending
when people ask me. But when I came out, I told my parents and I told those three friends, and within an hour I get a call from my priest.
Oh my God.
And our town was so small that my parents don't go to my church, don't know my priest. These three friends don't go to my church, know my priest, but
everyone already knew.
It would already spread through the town so quickly that it had gotten back to my priest. And so my priest calls me, and I answer, and I'm already just like shaking and
you're like, he's calling me.
And they're like, I heard you came out to your parents today, and I just wanted to ask if that was true. And I said, yes it was. And they said, well, I just want to say congratulations, and we'll see you at church on Sunday.
Wow.
And automatically I'm just like crying. But then it was I came out on a Friday, and then on Sunday when I went to church, the priest comes back and like gives me the priest, and then it's like a freaking movie. Like all the different members of the church like kind of behind them, and I'm of course just like crying. So I had this like amazingly welcoming experience.
This is the point. Like churches, this is all you have to do. Like just be loving and supportive, and people will keep coming. Like, isn't that the whole business model? Like you want to keep people involved and keep people happy in this place of joy, of forgiveness, of all of the things that are meant to support and uplift the community. And this is the outcome. You continue to have people who then share their story and let people know. Because for me, I mean, if you haven't caught it this far, I don't have like the best taste in my mouth about church, but that's a lot of people in the queer community, you know? I mean, and it takes just a few stories like this for me to say, maybe there is a church out there, because
for the most of us, the representation that we have, it's not welcoming, right? This church usually doesn't accept us for who we are, and if we come out to our friends or our family, you know, it's usually like a negative reaction, and yours is obviously a rare an instance, and you know, it gives us hope.
Gays, we love music, we love congregation, we love the pomp and circumstance. I mean, these are things we're already into, right? Exactly. So I mean, just make it like your experience for more people. And I'm hoping that this becomes more common, and that we see, especially as, you know, this is more, you know, talked about, and this is the whole point of our podcast, is creating more stories where we hear good coming out stories. And we do often want to highlight the bad and the difficult and the struggle, but you can come out too and have a great experience like you did.
So you came out at 15, but did you always know you were gay? How was it growing up?
I always knew I was different. I was always like masking from a very early age. And I remember very vividly the first time someone said what gay meant, because like it was from the era where it's like, oh, you're so gay, that's so gay. And so we were saying that as kids, not even knowing what that word meant. And then I remember vividly a couple, I was in elementary school, and it was a couple kids that who we all have parents that worked at the school. We would like walk from the elementary school to like the high school where our parents were, and me and this other kid were like calling each other gay. And Jessica Carter, shout out Jessica, she obviously had like learned what the word gay meant like the day before. She was like, "Do you even know?"
Did she see the Hillary Duff commercial? Was that it?
She's like, "Do you even know what that word means?" And we were like, "Okay, no, tell us, Jessica." She's like, "That's when a guy likes a guy like they're supposed to like a girl." And she didn't mean it with any like malice.
Right,
She was like, "This is
the
bus.
definition.
Tell him what he was. Yeah.
and I very vividly, I was like, "Oh, so that's what I am." Like the
Right.
second I had language for it,
Wow.
I knew that was me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that was 5th grade,
Wow.
and very quickly learned more about like, oh, what is gay, what is coming out, all that kind of stuff, and then was like planning coming out in 5th grade in elementary school.
Wow. You were ready to go.
No, I wasn't ready to come out. I was making my plan.
I see.
And so
I
my
see.
plan was in 5th grade, I'm like, okay, I graduate college. That way I can have money and nothing bad can happen to me. And so all I have to do is make it through college and I can come out. And by 6th grade, I was like, okay, let me just get to college.
Right.
Let me get to college.
Yep.
And by 7th grade, it was just like, let me get through middle school. And so, it literally like every grade took 4 years off of my plan.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so like by 7th grade, it's like, if I can just get through middle school, I'll come out in the summer.
I feel like I had a very similar experience because I knew I was gay again at like 5 or 6, but I knew it was not something to be spoken of. It was not going to fly in my family or with anyone that I knew at the time. And so I already planned very similar to you, like, all right, after college or when I'm financially independent, that's when I can, let it go. But by the time I got like 15 or 16, the gayness could not be contained. And so I came out like on my own accord with like certain people around me, but friends in high school, I would always say no, but they knew. Yeah. And my parents, I don't know how they could possibly not know. I mean, I've literally performed with a towel on my head to the Spice Girls, like at beyond the appropriate age, if there is one. So, again, I just knew for me, I needed to make sure that I was like safe on my own before I felt comfortable coming out. And I think that's what I always want people to know is there's like never a time that you have to come out or that is, required of you or expected of you. Everyone's going to have a different time that feels right. But the number one thing you want to think to yourself is, will I be safe? Will I have a roof over my head? Will I have food? And I think that's always what was in the back of my head.
It's interesting that you knew at such an early age that you wanted to come out soon. And I think for me, I knew I was different, gay. For a long time, I thought I was bisexual because I had crushes on girls. But for also a long time, I was trying to not be gay. I was trying to maybe convert. So I would try to watch straight porn. I would try to date girls because I did not want to be gay, because I knew if I came out, I knew if I told my friends, I wasn't going to have a positive reaction. Yeah. So growing up, I always knew there was something different about me, but I didn't plan to come out. I just planned to be a different person. I just did not want this to carry throughout my adult life because I didn't want to be a gay adult, right? Because our representations back then weren't great, right? We didn't have a good gay representation on TV or on movies. It was always like the joke, the butt of the joke.
The person who gets killed, the person who's on drugs or is, sexually promiscuous. And I very much relate to that too, as didn't have like the representation we have now and what we're creating right now of just seeing like thriving adults. I thought I was gonna work at the mall. Actually, I thought that's where all the gay people worked, was at the mall in fashion, not wrong and not a bad gig, And so I literally remember being like 14 or 15, being like planning out my life, what the car I was gonna have and the apartment I was gonna have in Orlando, because it was like the biggest city from Jacksonville that had a gay population that I was aware of. I would work in the mall, and I was like I remember writing in my notebook like how much money I needed to make all these things happen. Well, I didn't have enough. So, but
I also think it's interesting. We grew up in an era where if you were gay on TV, you were like a serial killer or you were a prostitute or something like that. And then it went to this era of, which is better, of like sharing our stories, but it's like every movie you had to have AIDS or you had to get beaten to death or
your parents left you.
So it was these amazing true stories, but it also was
the stereotype
porn. And so I want gay Lifetime movies.
Yes.
I want Hallmark
More.
movies of just like,
Right.
I want a gay guy that leaves his job at the big city and now
Yeah.
has a pumpkin farm.
Right.
Like that's the
Romance.
story I want to watch.
Right.
Yeah, and I think we're moving in that direction mainly too because straight women are enjoying. I mean, when you look
yeah.
at Heated Rivalry, that one of the main reasons I think we're getting and seeing it everywhere is
Popular.
it's becoming popular with straight women who also enjoy watching two guys that are attractive enjoy each other.
We're such a product of our times because now I meet younger gay kids coming up and they think it's so weird, some of my like coming out stories, and how important even the concept of coming out is to millennials.
Yeah.
Because especially for like kids growing up in LA, they're like, oh, I never came out. I just like brought home my boyfriend.
Right.
And it's like and they think they're like you're self-important that you need to make an announcement is how they view it. And I'm like, and it's
That's so funny.
On one hand, I'm just like, you don't understand,
don't
but
understand.
other is like, what a blessing that they don't understand.
There's two groups of people who say the exact same thing. So there's gay people who have come out without needing to because they are in a supportive environment or they live in a liberal city or a liberal family, and straight people who assume that we are like making a celebration or like creating a statement by coming out because they can't imagine the concept of like having to express your sexuality. But the reality is the reason we come out is because people have been asking us our whole life if we're gay or not. And so like, I guess I need to say something because no one asks my friend over here if he's gay or if he's straight, and he doesn't have to come out. But we've been like sort of programmed to believe that we need to make a statement, which in reality, we don't want to make a statement. We just want to live normal lives like everyone else. But we have so much work to do for the people who don't live in LA or don't get to live in that sort of supportive upbringing. But what's interesting now is, I think this has been happening forever. Like, you know, there's many people who are born into supportive families, but we're seeing more young people born into these families all over the U.S. instead of just in Miami or L.A. or New York. You know, liberal ideas and leftist theology is spreading, and people are learning that maybe it's not good for your kids to feel like they need to come out. Like, let them just be themselves. But then we still are having those other communities where, you know, coming out stories inspire people to feel like there could be a moment they could be themselves. And so we get comments all the time like, oh, you guys are always talking about coming out stories. We're like, we don't want to talk about them. We have to talk about them at this point still. And so, you know, it's
part of our experience
part
too.
of the current gay experience. And hopefully 20 years from now, maybe even 10 years from now, this won't be as part of the gay experience. But there's definitely still a lot that I'm learning from even talking to people.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing your story, I think you have the first positive story of coming out
with the church.
With the
specifically
church,
too.
it's fascinating. It's really beautiful.
So when did you decide that, you know, your small town was just not big enough for you? You needed to head out.
I was, I guess, like 15, and I did come out super early, but was the only out kid at my school and did not have any peers.
Sure.
And so it was the days of like Zanga and MySpace.
Thank you
and
for
like,
bringing these to light. You had a Zanga. I had a Zanga.
What's a Zanga?
It was.
I tried to explain this to him.
Zanga's still very popular in Brazil, ironically.
Really?
It was like a social media before MySpace, before Facebook.
It's like a web page.
Yeah.
You create your own web page.
Yeah, it's almost like a blog now. Looking at it.
Yeah, you could before. This was like even before. Did you have LiveJournal? Did you ever have that?
I knew of LiveJournal.
Yeah, so that was like my idea of like a blog/journal that people had. But Zanga was like you'd get, at least in the beginning. I had made my first when I was like 13 or 14. You get just like one page of your website, and you can put things on it, but it's all HTML coded. So you have to like learn how to like embed stuff into the certain sections of the website. But it is a great way to get your hands onto HTML when you're just starting, if you want to do web design, I guess. But I had one. I loved MySpace. I wish we could go back.
And MySpace started like the social aspect of like having your whatever top. Was it
top 8?
Top 8? Was that it?
I love that I could select the gay button and I could see all the gay people that lived in my city, because that didn't exist before. I didn't know you could do that. And it's funny, the first time I came to LA, I was 15, hopped on MySpace. You could put in the age, the sex, the sexual orientation, and click search. Before you knew it, I was hanging out with people that were way too old for me.
Well, so my I started meeting a couple like gay people in my small town, but in like can you cuss? Do you cuss?
Yeah,
in
fuck
Bumfuck,
yeah.
Georgia, there was not
Right.
a lot of people that even if I probably shouldn't be hanging out with them either.
Right.
But I was really blessed that a friend of mine who's still a friend of mine today, Hank, who you know,
Yeah, of course.
Hank, who was a couple years older than me, living in Atlanta, tried to flirt with my brother on MySpace, and my brother was like, "I'm straight,
Wrong one.
but my faggoty brother just came
Right over
out.
here."
Like you should hit him up." And so my brother actually
No
hooked me
way.
up with Hank. And Hank like helped sneak me into my first gay bar, and he was when we met, he was like 19 or 20. And then when he turned 21, he gave me his like,
Of course,
his ID,
as a good friend
as
would.
a good friend. So I was Hank until I turned 21 in college. So.
I feel you. I would sneak away to Orlando on the weekends when I was 15, 16, 17. I had multiple fake IDs where I would go to the same bar and like a few months later have a different birthday and like celebrate my birthday at that bar, like just a few months after my previous fake birthday.
Wow.
But yeah, so I was always doing a very similar thing, trying to get into the queer spaces, which really at that time, and even to some extent still now, is mostly at a bar.
Yeah.
And especially if you're in a small town. Looking back, if I were a parent or my parent and knew how I was behaving, I would be very unhappy. But I learned so much about myself and I had such a great time. And I know that looking to like and thinking about hanging out with people who were too old for me to be around or being in these adult spaces, I was old enough to know what was like right and wrong. And so I was able to still keep myself protected, just like I think most people would be able to, but I'm not encouraging 15 or 16-year-olds to go to the bar. But at the time, like I felt so in need of community and desperate for like being around people similar to me, I would have done way worse to make that happen. And so,
I mean, I was so lucky at the time. I'm not sure if you ever got to be there. There was this gay bookstore in Atlanta, Outright Bookstore.
Wow.
And it was right in between where now are like two of the big bars, Blake's and 10. And I like, before I would drive, I would like ask my parents to drop me off there, and I would just like have an overpriced cappuccino like in the bookstore and be like, there's so many gay people. And it was like crazy, and just feeling like you weren't other because there was like so many other gay people
and
around.
in Atlanta, a southern city that, you know, just maybe a few miles away, you feel like could be very well the only gay person in the 10-mile radius. But yeah, I actually did get to go to that bookstore before it closed. I was 18 and went to Atlanta for the first time, and I was like, oh, so this is the other big city where the gays are at, near Jacksonville. It blew my mind. I mean, in 2007, 8, 9, Atlanta was popping. The gay bars were busting. And the social vibe of the city, especially in queer nightlife, was incredible. And I think it still continued until we left. I think we got like the tail end of
what happened.
I think social media really, started to chip away.
Social media killed the gay bar.
Yeah, I mean, it chipped away at the need to, because a lot of us were going to the gay bar not even to drink, right? It was just to be around people who were gay, or to find a connection, or to find a misconnection, or it was really mandatory to get laid. You had to go out. You had to meet people physically.
Make friends.
That too, yeah. I mean, and so I feel like that got masked now from sort of, we can sit at home and do it from our couch. But that didn't happen overnight, right? We got to see it kind of over time change.
I think we got the last wave of like the gay decadence of the 90s of like the dancing, the club sings and jungle and like being the twink that dances on a box. We had very much like a queer as folk like
very
era.
much.
We like lived that a little bit
for sure.
And then with social media that died because there wasn't the need for that. And I feel like kind of like the not needing to come out, there's like such benefits to young people like not needing to like meet somewhere like at a bar
in the back corner.
Like there is like healthier ways to meet, but also it stopped it's really impaired some of the oral history of the queer community. We're a community that we don't like, we didn't read about ourselves in the history books. You didn't hear about the struggles. You learned it from your elders,
Yeah.
and you met these elders in this place, which
Yes.
is like
Yes.
scary, and like there's of course
Yes.
negative things, but
Right.
they were also like gay men who like took me under their wing and
Yeah,
taught me
same.
the things, and so many like chosen families that I got to be a
Yep.
part of
Wow.
that helped really teach me about myself and about our communities. And I've kind of also noticed a disconnect with younger generations of gay people because they've learned about our community on
YouTube.
YouTube
Yeah.
instead of like through
In the bar.
or instead
Yeah,
instead of like
friends
from
or-
people.
Yeah.
And so
Yes.
there's like
Yeah.
a lot of like differences of knowledge and of
Yes.
like our shared community.
It's interesting to see how our community is going to continue to evolve, but I do get curious, like where are young people able to connect about these things? Where are you finding these young people? Because I don't know where they are. We were like asking friends who go out.
Where do
like,
you find the youth?
Yeah, where are the kids doing these days? Because they go out, like what? I have no idea. But
After COVID, I went to like one party and I was like, oh, I'm not used to people touching me.
Right.
So like,
Right.
maybe
So
I need a little
weird.
bit more time. But I really missed being in like at these like creative queer spaces, and it's how I started my figure drawing group
Yeah.
actually. So I was like at a little house party and I had like sketchbooks, and I was like with one of our friends, like, would you like want to get naked and we
Real quick.
just like draw you? Like I have some supplies.
Yeah.
It was just like a funny
Wow.
like gag, but it like
took
people had
off.
a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And so like in the next month we were like, hey, this guy has a really big living room, like he'll probably let us do it, maybe we'll like do it again.
Sure.
And it got bigger and bigger and bigger, and so now
Amazing.
I have like this monthly figure drawing group
Yes.
of queer and allies that
Incredible.
meets in LA, and it's like this amazing
And all ages come?
space. All ages come, men,
Wow.
women.
That's
We
amazing.
have beautiful models, and
We had one of your models just very recently.
yes,
Antonio?
Yeah.
Oh,
Did
yeah.
you know him? Yeah. And I think we've had other models of yours too. Maybe.
It would not surprise me.
We definitely want to go to one of your figure drawing. That would be really cool.
Just don't upshow the model. You
Right. So I won't wear a
gotta,
cutoff.
you gotta wear sleeves that
I would
day.
love to be more creative, and that was one of our goals being here in LA, was to expand our creativity and find art hobbies that kind of enrich us and fulfill us in that area.
Maybe you can teach us like
Yeah,
the
some
basics.
basics.
Come to the
Yeah.
class. I love a craft.
Yeah.
I've been doing cross stitch.
Ah.
They have some great pottery classes here in LA as
Oh,
well.
I would love
so,
that. That's fun.
and what I'm really trying to concentrate on in my own work is capturing that spark and that joy and that moment.
Mhm.
I think we live in like a crazy world right now, and being able to focus within and on that like kind of joy is like a light in the darkness for me.
Mhm.
You know, a lot of great art and great artists, they came in the dark times, right?
Yeah.
And we're living.
That's what I said. So music is going to be great in like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
You know, darkness brings light. You know, I mean, I think that's also why so many queer people are artists, and we go through such a difficult journey. And even if you have the best family experience, even if you live in a community that's super supportive, just being gay, like you're gonna experience microaggressions everywhere, you know? And so we live with that, and then we get to decide how we want to use that energy in art and medicine, giving it back to people in a more positive way, making sure that we treat people better because of the way we've been treated. And I think queer people, we know how to do that because we can find joy in dark times. But hopefully too, like putting some more energy into our artistic side.
Yes.
And I feel like it's been so neglected, focusing on other things in our employment and our family and everything else that clouds, you know, creativity for us. And so you've inspired us, as I'm sure you do many people.
It also just scratches a different part of your brain.
Yeah.
You know, it's a muscle. I think so many people are also kind of scared to
Express
make
that.
art. And for me, I view it, and how I kind of explain it in my classes is it's like yoga. We're here to like practice together. There's no like good or bad way to make art.
Yeah.
The best art with a capital A is not the best person, it's someone who's the most free.
For those out there who are interested in maybe working with you or coming to one of your events or learning from you, where can they find you?
So you can find me on Instagram at John T.D. Murphy. You can also follow some of my drawing classes at Draw Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And come with us for a class. You know, maybe someone out there will come join us.
Yes,
and
please.
we can have a party and paint some naked people, draw some naked people. Not a bad gig, you know?
Yeah, right? It's a hard job. Yeah. Gotta do it.
And the models are usually A+, so, you know, it'll be a fun time. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Such a pleasure having you here.
See you next time.
Thank you all.
The end.